Hello, I'm Kathy Logston, Sales and Marketing Director here at Epworth Villa. I'm going to share with you today a pre-recorded webinar done with Victoria Caldwell, well-known REMAX broker and agent in the Edmond and Oklahoma City area. She's sharing with us real estate insights to the market, how to sell your house, what to do, what not to do, and I hope you really enjoy it. Thank you for joining us today.
At a very, very good clip. So the good news for those of you who are thinking about right sizing, I love that phrase that there comes a time in our lives when we need to maybe make some changes about where we're living and um, and and make those changes that are going to be the best for us at this point in our lives. So the good news is that the market is solid. It's dependable. And I think you're going to find that should you decide to make a change, that it's going to be a very successful change and easy compared to some markets. So right now is a good time to sell.
Let me ask you a couple of questions that will kind of spark some questions from folks out there.
Sure.
How I know when I was selling real estate years ago, the average days on market was kind of a barometer for what you could expect when you list your house. Tell me, what does that look like right now, and also address the pricing and how that's um, what you're seeing, what sells the quickest, what price ranges are selling the fastest and for the most, and all of that.
Okay. Um, the market that is actually the fastest moving market right now is the market that is really below 300. Um, it was below 200, but now if there is a property that is in the 300, 350 range, that market is very solid. And if the home is in reasonable condition, not perfect condition, but reasonable condition and priced well, in other words, not overpriced, then uh, the instance of having success is going to be very good. Once we get into the over 500,000 range, it is a little bit slower, but still a solid market.
So in that 300 to 400 range, and then even below, how many days, if it meets the
Mhm.
criteria, if it's priced well and it's in reasonably good shape,
Yeah.
what are you seeing as far as turnaround times once a sign goes out in the yard?
There is a little bit of a misnomer on the number of days on the market, in that it doesn't take into consideration that if I had a listing and I didn't get it sold and somebody else took it over, that would be skewed a little bit. But the average time on the market, even with that taken into consideration, is probably closer to 60 to 70 days on the market. So that is a very fast market.
Well, one of the things that we notice when we're working with our clients and helping them through this process of moving is they sometimes anticipate the fear that it might take 6 months to a year to sell their house. And a lot of times what happens is they sell it so quickly they aren't prepared.
Yes.
So preparing your house and preparing yourself for a sale that might come quicker than you expect, what would you say to someone?
Um, Plan on it. Plan on get into a mindset where you are thinking in terms of this is really going to happen, and I am going to sell this property. And if we're thinking in that realm, then we're much more likely to be ready to do all the other things that need to be done in order to sell the property. um, the I think trying to be perfect is the is the is trying to be perfect keeps us from doing what we need to do.
Right.
And so if we can just uh, jump into the process, we're going to be much better off than if we plan, and spend an entire year doing this. It really should be less than 90 days entirely to get this job done. And so we need to set our minds for a reasonable amount of time and not uh, taking way too long to do
So,
it.
so one of the things that we hear from our clients a lot is they believe that their house needs to be perfect. Obviously, they're trying to
Yeah,
get the most money for it that they
right.
possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But they say things like, "Well, I need to repaint this room. I need to retile the bathroom. I need to do so many things, and I need to give some things away, and I'm just not ready. It's going to take me a year to do all this."
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to that?
I would say dive in and decide what is the most important thing. If there's one thing that you're going to fix up in a house, in anything to get ready for selling, it's clean. The clean will sell more, sell faster, and sell higher than anything else you can possibly do. So rather than feeling that we have to completely redecorate, um, just clean, get it clean and fresh, and dive in.
Yeah. Um, Decluttering. How do
Yes.
you, clean is good. I had a realtor one time years ago tell me, well, the first thing I'd like you to do is have your windows cleaned inside and out. It never dawned on me to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really true. What would you say about decluttering? Because people that have lived in their houses a long time have a lot more things. So tell me what you tell people.
One thing that you can do is put put things into boxes and put them into storage places. It rather than not get ready for the sale. Getting ready for the sale is important, but not to the point where you just don't move at all. So try putting things into boxes, getting them into a storage building, and then think about it later. It's kind of like Scarlett O'Hara. Just we'll think about that later and get rid of things a little bit later. Make it simpler on yourself.
What would you say about depersonalizing your house? Do you ever talk to clients about that?
I have a little different feeling about that. I think that part of the interest in a house is the the part of the house that makes it unique to you. And so I have never wanted to ask people to completely get rid of my own personality. Let that show. And people can tell when a happy family has lived in a home, and they get that sense, they get that feeling of having the happy family. And that causes people to warm up to houses.
What would you say? Because I know for us here, when we set up a model that we stage so that people can get an
Mm-hmm.
idea of what it would be like in their furniture, what what would you say about things like smells and uh, taking the trash out, just the basic things that you might not think
Uh-huh.
of, vacuuming. What would you say, other than being clean and declutter a little bit and get the overwhelming amount of stuff packed away? What would you say about those things?
Um, well, as I've already said, clean is probably the most valuable asset that you have to show off your home. But other than that, I think we will oftentimes overwhelm ourselves with uh, way too much sense that we need to make the house perfect. So live in your home. Um, People understand that they're going to be lived in, um, and don't um, make it so hard on yourself that you just don't move at all. So I would rather have my clients just take a step and work on it rather than not do anything.
Yeah. What would you say to someone that says, well, I need to sell my house with and stay in it versus going ahead and moving and letting it be sold with maybe some of my things staged nicely, but me not being there. Can you give some insight to the benefits
Oh,
of allowing folks to take their things, move in to their next home, or their downsizing if they were moving here, for instance, and you being able to show the house without
yes.
them in it and having to do all that? What are the benefits to folks to doing that? And
There
what are the
will be
benefits to you as a realtor to make it
mhm.
faster?
There will be a lot more showings on a property when it is made very easy to show. So where I may be able to show a house 7 times in a week because the homeowner is pretty much gone, um, it will be much easier to show many more times. And the more times you have showings, the more you stand the highest and best chance of getting the highest and best price.
I have seen clients that go ahead and move. Obviously, when you're moving to somewhere like Epworth or a community like this, if you have a life plan community where you've got an entry fee, most people want to take that out of their proceeds of their equity and not disturb their
Mm-hmm.
investments. So there are ways of doing that. But my question was for you, when someone is making their home available to show, I know a lot of clients uh, have back-to-back showings
Mm-hmm.
because of the market and the way it is right now. And
Yeah.
so, uh, a lot of the showings that you are involved in are you uh, making appointments with other realtors to show the home.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are buying and they have to make a decision, especially if they're moving in from out of town or out of state or whatever, they sometimes make quick decisions, and if they can't see your house for a day or two because you have things going on and you're not ready to show it, it can you can miss a sale that way.
You can.
And those back to back to back showings are easier for you as a
Mm-hmm.
realtor to do when the house is empty. I would think.
Much easier. And it just all around, when you can have back-to-back showings, you also create a lot of excitement in the property, and it's more likely to get multiple offers.
We like that. Multiple
We
offers.
love that.
That's
Yeah,
called competition and more money in your pocket.
right.
Okay, well, very good. Um, we have a couple of questions from some folks that are participating. So again, if
Sure.
you got on late and you have questions, go down to the Q&A button, type your question in there, and it'll pop up so I can see it. One question is, what's the average sales price in the Edmond, Northwest Oklahoma City area right now, which is where the bulk of our clients come from,
Mhm.
and probably the bulk of what you list. What's the average, would you say?
The average price is 320,000, and the median price is 290,000.
Now, what most people probably don't think about until they get ready to sell is sometimes the FHA loan limit comes into play, especially if you're getting a first-time buyer and they're going FHA, or even a second-time buyer. And
Mm-hmm.
what is the FHA loan limit? What's the most someone can borrow now, Victoria, on an FHA
You
loan?
know, that has just changed, and I need to actually look that up and send that, because it has gotten quite a bit higher. We really have, in this part of the country, we have very good loan limits, and so we're not restricted near as much as some parts of the country. So we have lots of loans. We have the conventional loans, the FHA, and VA loans.
Yeah. And because our market is strong, but it's still cost of living to live in Oklahoma is so much better than parts of the country, it makes that easier.
It much easier, much
Okay,
easier.
I'm going to have to take a drink of water because, excuse me, I'm a little dry.
Mm-hmm.
You do the same. Okay. All right. I have a question. If you have lots of furniture and stuff to get rid of, what about estate sales, garage sales, red tag ladies, etc.?
Yes. Estate sales are probably the best because those services can take care of everything, to the point where whatever is left would be disposed of. So there are a lot of wonderful companies in Oklahoma City that will handle from the very beginning of the estate sale all the way to taking the last few things and disposing of whatever is left.
Right.
Much easier than trying to have a garage sale, having things yourself. These companies uh, charge a fee for it, but it is so much easier than trying to do it yourself.
So do you have clients that request some referrals from good estate sale folks that
Yes.
give? Good. And I just want to mention, because we can't refer anyone to Victoria as a realtor from our webinar because she is on our board and it's a conflict, but her expertise is invaluable. And I would ask you, Victoria, what should folks do in looking for a realtor? Because most of us know lots of people that are realtors. We go to church with one. And
Mm-hmm.
so how do you pick a realtor?
Well, and there are 1,100 realtors in the Edmond market. So 1,100 realtors, and there were an average of 5 sales per in a year per realtor. That's not enough to make a living. So uh, be a little bit more discerning. And I would like to see probably a minimum of 12 transactions a year. So find out how many transactions. There are some successful realtors who have anywhere from 25 to 50 transactions where they really are streamlined and know how to run the business. but 5 transactions is not enough. So find somebody who has a little bit more experience. The more often we do things, the better we get at them.
Yes, yes. You don't want a
And
part-timer. You want somebody
do not,
that's doing it
no,
all the time. Yeah.
all the
Okay.
time. And come up with a list of about 8 or 9 questions that are important to you, based on maybe a transaction you've had before. What were the things that you enjoyed working with individuals? What are the things that drove you crazy? Um, be be true to yourself about how you're going to enjoy working with somebody.
I have some more questions here. They're starting to come in pretty fast here. Talk it to me about used to, and I hear this still from clients, well, it's not a good time of the year to sell. Talk to me about how that has changed over the last several years. Is there a good time, perfect time to sell?
Well, there's not an absolute perfect time, but there's not a terrible time either. And in general, so during the time, let's say for the winter time, when we think of the market as being a little slower, um, there are also fewer uh, buyers that are available to look at properties. So it tends to even out, that during the time when there are fewer properties on the market, there are fewer buyers available, and so the market ends up evening itself out just fine. Um, when it's really really busy, like say in the springtime, spring and early summer, um, there are lots more properties available, but there are also fewer um, houses that people can find at that time. So I have encouraged clients just to put the house on the market at the time that's best for you. And if that needs to be in January, that's when it needs to be.
Yeah.
Just do what's going to be best for you.
Okay. I have a question from someone. They have been advised to sell their house themselves. How would you address that? I know you get that question probably, and you've probably answered it a million times. What would you say to
Mhm.
someone that's trying to sell their house themselves, or what are the pros and cons of that?
I I'm going to have to be honest and say I know what I know. I know what I have done over and over again, and there is no way that one person can know everything that could go wrong in a transaction if you haven't done it hundreds of times. And so having that experience where you've done the same thing over and over again, you know where the pitfalls are, you know where your gut tells you that this person's not going to be able to qualify, all of those kinds of things. And you just don't know from if you haven't had the experience of doing it. So I do encourage people to hire a professional, hire somebody who really does know what they're doing, and use their expertise rather than just sort of hit and miss.
I have a question from someone that says, do you have any thoughts about the South Tulsa market? And do you have partnerships with other REMAX folks up there that you share listings with or you share information with? Can you give them a bit of a insight into the Tulsa market?
Um, the Tulsa market is its own market, and I don't really work that market. I did own a home in Tulsa, and my husband at the time worked in the oil business there. So we kept a house in Tulsa and a house in Edmond, and so it's an entirely different market. The traditions of how to do title work and all of that are very, very different in the Tulsa market. So what I would mainly recommend there is get somebody to give you a referral. Refer you 2 or 3 different realtors who are in the market in which you're participating, and get them to give you their expertise in those areas.
I have a question. It's a great question too from a participant. Are there consultants available to come into a home, advise on updating and decluttering and staging?
There are companies, in fact, they even refer to themselves, I think, as stagers, perfect type of help. What you might be able to come up with on your own, and what a stager, somebody who specializes in that, is going to be able to show your home in the best light. And so, yes, I would consider definitely, if I were putting, even though I'm in the business, I can't look at my own home with the kind of help that I need. So I need that person. I need that person to minimize the home that I'm showing.
Can you give someone an idea of what those people charge and what it would entail just to do a consultation, and then the actual staging and decluttering process? They probably charge by the hour, but other than that, what else can you expect?
I'm going to guess, to begin with, to just get an idea of that a couple of $100 would give you a little bit of an idea of how to start with the process. I will caution, though, don't overdo and feel like you've got to completely renovate the house in order to sell it. I think that's a mistake that people make that doesn't need to be done. Clean is the most important, and then minimizing, decluttering, those kinds of things. And people who specialize in those can just in a very short number of hours get the home really ready to show well.
I had a client once that before they moved to the community I was in at the time, they remodeled a whole part of their house, spent thousands of dollars.
Oh gosh.
And then they found out when they sold their home that the couple that bought it was going to tear everything out that they had done and redo it to their taste. So I think your advice is very well given, because I've seen that happen. Just because you think in your mind you know how it should look before you put it on the market, that doesn't mean that someone else will think the same way you do. If it's something obvious and it's broken and it would deter someone from buying it, yes, but just completely renovating before you do that, it may be just money down the drain. I have a great question from someone. I have an elderly relative who may need to move into assisted living. Her home has not been updated in 30 years. Kitchen appliances, wallpaper, etc. Do you recommend updating before listing or selling it as priced accordingly because of those attributes?
I would recommend pricing it accordingly to the condition that it's in. It is too far to get from the stage that house is now to showing well. Just allow the property to sell for what the market will bear, and make it simple on the family and the owner.
So to paraphrase that, you could spend $10,000 and only get $8,000 in return for your efforts. That's loss. Whereas if
Yes,
you just priced it accordingly, you may be dollars ahead.
you may.
I have a good question here. How do you find a stager? Do you just Google search it, or how do you have people that are advertised as stagers and that kind of thing?
That term, staging, has been used pretty ubiquitously. So I think you're going to find, if you just put that word in a Google search, you're going to find a number of firms.
Yeah, I know that I did a seminar once with a group of folks about this subject, and there are people out there that digitize. I didn't really understand what that was at the time,
Oh,
but they take all your family photos that I have boxes and boxes and boxes of, and they transfer all those to digital storage so you can get rid of all the pictures. That's a big deal. All the
oh
pictures
yeah.
and albums and all that. What do you do with all that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big thing too. Um, let's see. I have another questions. Let's see. Um, we've tackled some of this. Do you recommend moving companies? I can kind of address this on our end, what we do here at Epworth, but if you are moving someone and you're selling, how, if they haven't moved for 30, 40 years, how do you help them find a mover, packing company? We call them move management companies now. They're
Mm-hmm.
pretty common. How do you help your clients find movers and even packers?
I in Everybody has their own financial ability to get services, but I always encourage people to use the very best services that they can, because I'm sorry, somebody's dialing in. So my photo has disappeared.
Oh, live Zoom
That's
calls, aren't they
right,
wonderful?
yeah, right. But when you have a professional mover, you have uh, you have uh, you have people who are good at what they do and are going to protect the assets of the person. So when we have, six friends and 2 6-packs of beer, it's not probably the best moving. So consider using professional services to the extent you're able. We all have to do certain things ourselves, but use as much as you can, because you're going to have less breakage. You're going to have less of your valuable um, assets uh, be harmed.
And most of those professional movers have insurance to cover
They
themselves
do.
and all of that too. And I would just give a pitch to, we use here at Epworth and have for over 12 years a company called Senior Transitions. A lot of folks have heard of them, but they do a great job. They do this for a living. They will come to your house and pack you, bring the packing materials. They have select movers they like to use that they're used to, so they can recommend movers. They come, they pack it, they help you, consult with you before they start. They have a method how they do it. They put stickers on the things you want to take with you, leaving the rest for an estate sale or a donation. And they come with the movers and pack you. When our residents move in, the towels are in the bathroom hung nicely, the sheets are on the bed, the pictures are hung. It's an amazing service that they do, especially to seniors. And the older we get, the less fun moving is.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. Senior transitions, I recommend them highly. Uh, I have a question. How have the values of homes in Edmond changed in the last few years? You live in Edmond. I used to live in Edmond. Tell us what you've seen over the last several years.
The market has, especially since February and March, a year ago, um, the market has gone up. I would say as much as 5 to 8%,
That's a lot.
in a huge amount in that market from. Um, 150, let's say on the very low end, up to that 350 price range. And so there is, now this is the good news if you're selling. It is an opportunity to stretch the market a little bit. There's a shortage of homes in that general price range. And so if everything else is equal, then there's going to be an opportunity to make a little bit more off of your long time home
That's
that
great.
there might not have been a year ago. Now, those things change, and I'm sure that that is going to slow down. But right now, it is. I have two families who are coming in, one from the East Coast and one from the West Coast, and they're if there are 4 or 5 houses that we can look at, we're lucky.
Yes. Um, I have a great question here. What colors and styles of home decoration are popular now?
Gray.
You know, we remodel apartments and cottages here at Epworth all the time. And as we stage, you know, even though folks may have lived most of the time in their home with golds and greens and reds and uh-oh, I lost her. Victoria,
Oh,
are you
yes.
there?
I was trying to get rid of a message on my phone, and
Let me see
oh
if I can
dear.
get you back. Well, I can hear you anyway. Let me see if I can. Oh, I think I
There.
got you. There we go. Um, when we renovate here at Epworth, uh, we get a lot of folks in their 70s, 80s, and beyond that love the gray color schemes. They really love them. They're modern, they're fresh, they're updated, and uh, of the renovations we do for folks, I would say 9 out of 10 go with grays and light colors and a more contemporary look. It's the opposite of what you would think it would be, but that is exactly what we see. Well, I have another question, and then I think we're going to have to wrap up, Miss Victoria, because we're 11 minutes over. So
Okay.
we had a lot of great questions. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Uh, regarding color, Sherwin, this is a comment. Regarding color, see if you agree with this. Sherwin-Williams can tell you the most popular colors given at any given time by region. I find that to be true. Do you find that to be true?
Yes.
Throw out there some of those colors. I can tell you that few years, well, about 4 years, 5 years ago, when we bought a new house in Edmond, the walls were mindful gray. That's a Sherwin-Williams, very popular color. I was like, oh, I don't think I can do gray walls. I moved in there and I loved it. And when we sold our home in Edmond and moved back to Quail Creek, I painted the inside of all my house mindful gray because I had enjoyed that so much. So I would contribute mindful gray. Do you have a color that that people
Oh,
gravitate to?
I get that. There was one that I used on all of my rent houses. Actually, I painted the all of the rent houses the same color on the inside, but I cannot remember Bimini beige or something like that. It
Bungalow,
was
bungalow beige, maybe. That's what we use here
maybe.
too. It's yeah, that's a popular color, very much. Well, I think we have covered most of the questions. I think we have covered a lot of subject matter. Anyone that has a question that they didn't get in or they think of one after, go on our website, epworthvilla.org, and send us through the contact info button there your question. We'll try to get it answered for you. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Victoria, so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. It was great. We'll probably do this again because we had great questions, very helpful to folks. So look for maybe Victoria to join us again in a month or two or three, whatever. We have other guests lined up for the next couple of months. Thank you. If you want more information about Epworth Villa, go to epworthvilla.org. And we have a fantastic website with all of our floor plans, virtual tours. And thank you again for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next month when our guest will be Curtis Kane, Arvest Bank, financial and trust officer there. I've known Curtis for a long time. He will bring the financial side of what your questions might be as to the financial decisions that you're making to move to maybe a community like this. So till next time, till next month, we'll see you. I think it's February the 18th, 10 a.m. So thank you, Victoria. Thank you so much.
Thank
And we'll
you.
see everybody next month. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.